Hello everyone, and welcome to Raz-Lee's Visualizer User Profiles and Queries Analysis demo. Most of you are familiar with our Visualizer Business Intelligence product, which can graphically display and analyze firewall and audit log data. Well, now Visualizer has been enhanced to support the graphical presentation and analysis of other parts of iSecurity. For example, all output generated by firewall and audit queries, and in particular, output produced by user profile management queries, for which we have special Visualizer support, which I'll show you soon. Database reports. The output, which exists on the AS400, can now be analyzed using Visualizer, as well as AP Journal log data. And again, I'll show you all these in a few moments. Numerous product enhancements have been added to the product as well, including a new dimensions combo box, which makes navigating Visualizer much easier. There's a new drill to facility, which will bring you to the log data corresponding to the records which have been analyzed by Visualizer and have been isolated by Visualizer after we've implemented all the filters, and other improvements that we've made to the GUI screen itself. Let's now look at a typical scenario of how your customer would use Visualizer in their company to analyze user profile queries. We're looking here at a system administrator, perhaps at a help desk person, who needs to check and report on user profile parameters for all users in the enterprise. And certainly it's hard to analyze so much data, and she wouldn't want to write a program, of course, every time she needed a report. But with Visualizer, we can easily analyze and isolate all user profile information and even produce and send the reports via email in different formats: HTML, CSV, PDF, etc. She can also analyze user profile data in Visualizer's easy to use, easy to understand graphical format. So with Visualizer, as you know, as you'll see in a moment, analyzing and reporting lots of information is really easy. I stated that Visualizer works on audit and firewall data. Basically, this is a schematic of how it works. There's a periodic maintenance job which runs on the AS400, perhaps nightly, and which produces statistics files. These are summary files for firewall and for audit based upon the daily log files of each product. When the program has finished running, the summary files are now available for analysis using Visualizer. In the same way, when we're talking about query data, again, there is a processing and collection job, which is run either on demand or via the scheduler of iSecurity, which reads log files from firewall, regarding QAudit Journal as well, the AP Journal log files, and at the same time can access system status snapshots. These are the queries which begin with $, and which have been added by Raz-Lee to the QAudit Journal. These are very specific audit types, $A, $B, C, D, etc., which relate to user profiles, to object analysis, to jobs, to special authorities, group profiles, etc. So again, this processing and collection job runs either on the system status or on queries and produces a statistics file which can be read by Visualizer. So the objectives of this demo then are to show how easy and beneficial it is to run and analyze queries using Visualizer. And what we'll be doing is we'll be showing and explaining how to use the Visualizer user interface based upon the audit and firewall logs that you're perhaps familiar with. Then we'll show the additions using all user profiles queries. We'll be working with user profiles without Visualizer, viewing AP Journal data with Visualizer, and also the ability to visualize database reports. Let's look at audit. Here we're looking at the business intelligence node on the navigation tree. I've clicked on audit, and we see here information for perhaps 1 month, perhaps 4 million records. The first screen that comes up shows me all the dates that appear in the statistics file. I can sort by quantity. As you probably recall, I can select particular dates of interest in this way or in that manner. And if I choose, for example, these 2 dates, I can then look and analyze, well, which jobs will run on those dates, which users, programs, etc. And here on the right is the new combo box that I mentioned in my introduction. The users appear in the Q Audit Journal records for those dates, the programs which will run, the entry types, the subtypes, etc. So this then is the combo box. I mentioned the push button for producing an HTML report and for drilling to the log data. Let's look at the drilling to the log data. If we now, for example, filter, besides looking at these two dates, let's filter by authority failure. We now have 3 records. If I drill to data, I can actually see the log records from the Q Audit Journal that correspond to my filter criteria. In a previous demo that I produced, I showed how we could then create a detection rule from an actual event which occurred in the past. We can click here, create a detection rule, and as we see here, there's a new detection rule which has been pre-populated with the event data, with the event information from this particular event. So this is really a very, very strong and exciting feature in which this is really basically a wizard which creates a detection rule from an activity which already occurred in the past. And this can be done, of course, for firewall and for audits. If we go back and look now at all user profiles, go here on the tree, under User Management, I have a node called Profiles Reports in Visualizer. Double-click, and this is a special support for user profiles in Visualizer. I get a list of all the user profile reports that are available in the system. When I select a report and click OK, the report itself, the query, will run, and Visualizer will automatically come up. That's this screen that we see here. When I ran this query earlier, all user profiles with all object authority, I have this list of user profiles. There are 71 records, 71 such users in our system. And if I go to this combo box, you'll see again how easy it is to select. I can look at status. Let's look at those users who are enabled. Let's look at those whose password is none. There are now 10 users, 10 such users. And if I drill to data now, I'll see the users that we're talking about. These are the users. And again, for each particular user, I can change their status, expire the password. I can access additional user profile values by clicking the Advanced push button and change the user class, for example, set the password to expire, etc. And not only can I do all that, and of course here we're talking about the standard iSecurity GUI support. So basically I can change the column positioning, move this perhaps over here if it's more convenient for me, sort. I can select multiple rows, right click, export this information, for example, to Excel, to PDF, to a CSV, to HTML, etc. So this is really a very, very powerful feature that we've added to analyze user profile information throughout the organization using Visualizer. We also have the possibility of working with user profiles without Visualizer, and that appears on this node here. If I double-click on this, I prepared this earlier. I'm looking here at all user profiles which begin with the letter Q. These are all the user profiles. Again, I'm looking at iSecurity GUI table capabilities, so I can look under name and perhaps filter those names, user profile names which have the combination DOC in it, look at those that are enabled or disabled or whatever. So all this, as you see here, status perhaps disabled, and I can see all those that are disabled over here, and export these or do whatever I want with these user profiles. So again, summing up the issue of user profiles, I can access user profiles here online, or I can run specific reports, as I showed here, and analyze the output immediately using Visualizer. Let's now look at viewing AP Journal data using Visualizer. AP Journal, if I look here at application definitions, I see, at least in our system, the various AP Journal applications which we've defined. There's a definition here for application test 1, which is made up of these different application databases, files. And I see here that this application is being journaled and in which library. And if I then go to application outputs for this same application and I open, I can receive the output from journal receivers, from journal containers, or I can view the output using Visualizer. Let's select a date range so that we have some information. And when I click that, you see that for this particular application, I have data from a number of different dates. I can then go and see, well, what operation was performed? What interests me? I think what interests me are the updates. Well, why don't we look at the IP addresses which did the updates during that date range? And perhaps I want to focus in on this particular activity and view the program or the program library. Let's now go to the combo box just for the fun of it. The object or the object library which was referenced from this IP address on an update operation during this date range. And just perhaps as a reminder, and that's the way we use Visualizer with AP Journal, just as a reminder, what I did want to show you, of course, was the possibility of showing for each individual update or write activity, the fields themselves that were updated and were changed, the before and after values. All that can be seen using the application outputs node on the tree. Let's now look at database reports. If I go to, for example, audit queries, this you are familiar with. These are the queries that I can now, for example, run. And there's been a change here in this screen. The default is to view the output as a iSecurity GUI table, but we can also visualize. We can also look at the output directly with Visualizer, or we can produce the output in any of these different formats and send the output via email to someone. We can also, of course, choose to view the output on an out file or directly on a printer. So if I look at database reports that will run on any particular date, for example, this report, you see we're getting back to all user profiles again, but this is a report which already has been run and stored. And again, I can click on Visualizer, and again, I can access this information. I can look again, as we saw earlier, at the status, look at the disabled, drill to data, and get back to my to the output of the report, which has now been filtered, by my request here within Visualizer. Okay, so to sum up again, we've seen how easy and beneficial it is to run with Visualizer. We've seen how Visualizer has been expanded and now supports not only audit and firewall, but also the output of all queries, including user profile queries in particular. We can use Visualizer with AP Journal, with database reports, and we believe that the use of Visualizer will assist you in selling iSecurity, giving benefit to your customers. Thank you for participating. We welcome all comments to marketing@razlee.com. Thank you.